into another live edition of the Patriots Beat Podcast here on the CLNS Media Network. Brian Hines from Pat's Pulpit, joined as always by Alex Barth from 98.5 The Sports Hub. And it's Jets week, as Bill Belichick proclaimed the other day. But before we get into that game preview, the Patriots must be off their game a little here, bit, Alex, because they usually drop all the news right when we end the show, so we don't get to talk about it. But they dropped all the news right before we went live here a second ago, and that news is signing another quarterback to the active roster and Will Greer. So they continue to kind of cycle through these third quarterback options. And then because he came on the active roster, they had to make a corresponding move, and that was Marcus Jones. Reportedly tore his labrum and is now on the IR, and that seems longer than that four-week IR stint. Just doing some quick Google searches, it looks like maybe an 8 to 10 week injury. So
yeah,
you have him down. You have Jack Jones, who's already on IR with what seems like a pretty significant hamstring injury that might keep him out a few months. Jonathan Jones banged up. Like this cornerback room is starting to get thinned out. So no Marcus Jones, and then Will Greer into the mix here with another quarterback.
Yeah, fourth, third quarterback of the year for the Patriots. We'll start with DeMarcus Jones news. He's probably going to miss some time, and they're really struggling in the secondary right now. Jonathan Jones is limited, so maybe he comes back this week. I guess you can't rule that one out, as I'm literally ran up from my car driving home from Gillette and sat down here and everything. Yeah, so Marcus Jones probably going to miss some time. We'll see where Jonathan Jones is at, but Jack Jones is still on IR as well. And I think it was reported that he was going to miss more than just the 4 weeks. So it's not like there's just a couple weeks here. There's a lot on Christian Gonzalez's plate. It's going to be up to Christian Gonzalez 3 weeks here into his NFL career to kind of really carry this defense. And we'll see if he's up to it. They've got tough wide receivers on the schedule the next few weeks, but that's my biggest takeaway from Marcus Jones going on IR. Also now the punt returner. I wonder if that's Demario Douglas. If maybe you see Jalen Reagor get another elevation from the practice squad, at least to fill in short term, especially if they're, we'll see where they're at with Douglas. We'll get to that in a little bit. As for Will Greer, I actually liked Will Greer coming out of West Virginia. I was a fan of his. I like his mental makeup. He's got a big arm. Hasn't materialized in the NFL. He was a third-round pick, but never really got a shot with the Panthers. He kind of got buried by Teddy Bridgewater, PJ Walker, different. After his first year, they made a coaching change. They hired Matt Rule, not really a fit there. Goes to Dallas, backs up Dak Prescott. Of course, they bring in Trey Lance this offseason. That made him expendable. He's had accuracy issues so far, his time in the league, things like that. So I don't think I know everybody wants to get all excited that this is the guy that's going to come in and suddenly be the answer. He's not. He's the third quarterback. They are playing the Cowboys in a couple of weeks where he just was. So that's an interesting element to it. I wonder if at a certain point he would maybe end up getting waived and trying to go back to the Patriots practice squad or whatever. But they do have their third quarterback again since Matt Corral didn't work out.
Yep. And back to the corners quick. They also, because they are very thin there, they signed Breon Borders and is it Azizi Hearn to the practice squad today?
Yeah.
So still adding some depth there with all these injuries. And someone, Alex, pointed out in the comments here, maybe we start seeing a little more of Jalen Mills coming back to this cornerback room with all these injuries. Sean Wade, definitely a candidate in the slot. He was kind of their nickel against Miami when you lost Marcus Jones and Jonathan Jones was out. But you still have Miles Bryant, would probably be the leading candidate in the slot there. But you hope John Jones is healthy enough, obviously, and you probably roll with him and Christian Gonzalez. And then you can work in Miles Bryant and Sean Wade in the slot, with Jalen Mills also being a factor from time to time.
Yeah, they've generally been hesitant to do things like that. They moved Jalen Mills to safety. Their plan is to play him at safety. They generally don't come off of that. I wonder if you see guys elevated from the practice squad, things like that. But they're going to have to do something here because they're really thin at corner now, especially if John Jones can't play this week.
Yep. But he has been practicing. He's been at practice. He was listed limited, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So he's still limited. But he's been out there, so that's a positive sign. It sounded like he almost like it was precautionary last week, so you hope that they held him out. So you hope that he's back this week, because I know it's Zach Wilson. I know it's the Jets, but they still have some good skill position players there. Obviously, Garrett Wilson, Alan Lazard, some good receivers there. So you want that secondary at full force. But yeah, it's getting thin there. It's not a great spot to be in 3 games into the season.
So just to clarify something I said before, the Patriots have to carry Will Grier on their roster for at least 3 weeks. So
Yeah,
that's after that. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they go somewhere else, but he will be on the roster, and they do now have the
emergency quarterback.
yeah, they can do the emergency quarterback, so they can, and I don't see why they wouldn't. They can
Yeah,
dress Will Grier on Sunday in any time going forward without him being technically active.
think that's something we could see right off the bat here. Like, why not? Honestly, but
So this week it might just be too new that it, but I
yeah,
would think definitely the next 2 weeks I could see it.
yep. Is that so? 3 week? Could they just straight up cut him before 3 weeks, and then not bring him back on the practice squad, or do they have to like legally keep him on for 3 weeks?
He has to be on the roster for 3 weeks. They can't cut
Okay.
him, waive him for 3 weeks. After that, they can do whatever they want. They can waive him, try to get him to the practice squad. They could just outright release him, like trade him. I don't think they're going to do that, but like it's just 3 weeks. They can't cut him
Yep.
because otherwise, like if you knew, let's say the Patriots playing the Jets, and they knew that there's somebody on the Jets practice squad that the Jets are gonna, that the Jets like to elevate is going to be part of the game plan. They could just sign that guy for the week so the Jets don't have him, and then cut him.
Cut him.
Right. And they could essentially just save a roster spot to do that every week. So I guess you could technically do that 3 weeks ahead of time, but it's a lot. You don't know what things are going to look like 3 weeks in advance.
Yep.
It's much less realistic.
Yep. So those were, I believe, we hit on all the roster moves there. That was just a flurry of chaos right before we went live, but I think that's all of it. So we can transition over to the Jets because we have a pretty big game for the New England
Yeah.
Patriots here. Kind of, are you calling it a must win? I think it kind of is a must win, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
If they're 0-3 and it's the Jets is the third loss and all that, it's going to get real ugly real quick. I wonder if you'd start seeing guys check out. They got it. This is the season.
Yep. And looks like it's going to be an interesting one with the weather, which we could talk about. It's a tropical cyclone or something. That's what they're calling it. But
Yeah.
I don't know. The Patriots and Jets, like, pretty similar teams, right? Like, really good defenses, probably 2 of the top 5 defensive fronts in the league. Offensive lines are near the bottom of the league, that they're struggling. Now, I think the big difference on the offensive line is the Jets unit is the Jets unit, right? It's what we've seen where the Patriots, you're hoping you get some of these guys back. Trent Brown has been limited with that concussion, but he's been back on the practice fields this week. You hope Cole Strange and Mike Onwenu, now you have a game under their belts, so they're better. We'll see what happens with the right tackle. I'm guessing it's still going to be Calvin Anderson, right? But you hope there's room for improvement here with the Patriots offensive line, where the Jets, it's like, this is our starting 5. They're healthy, but they're still just not performing well. So definitely an area where you think Patriots will try to capitalize there and get to Zach Wilson. And we all know the Zach Wilson story at this point, 0 for 4 against the Patriots, but kind of seems like 2 similar teams and going to be one of these kind of low scoring games, especially if the weather has a big impact on it.
It's going to be an absolute rock fight. I can't wait. It's going to be ugly, gross,
Sickos football.
I'm very excited for this one.
So is that where, like, it's going to probably be decided in the trenches? Is that where you're looking first?
Yeah, I think so. And that's why this part of the, sorry, I'm looking back to see if I had any former Will Grier tweets, and I found one where I called Will Grier future Patriot in 2019.
There you go.
Yeah, I think this game is, it's going to be who's able to run the ball. I think between the weather and just, I mean, the Jets have to run the ball. They're not going to throw it, but the Patriots are becoming a little one-dimensional as a passing team offensively. Who saw that one coming? But you're seeing defense. There's been a lot of talk about them not running play action. I think part of the reason is because it's not going to do anything. I think, one, they're petrified of the offensive line for Mac Jones to turn his back to the defense and then turn around and boom, rush right in front of him. But I think the other reason is, like, if I'm coaching against the Patriots, right? If I'm on the Jets coaching staff this week, I'm going to that meeting on Tuesday and saying to the linebackers, to the safety, to the corners, do not worry. about any ball action. He goes to stick the ball in the running back's gut. Don't think twice about it. You stick to your coverage assignment because the front four should be able to handle it. Because that's what the Dolphins have done, and that's what the Eagles did. They stopped the run with four guys. It's not about like getting in the second level. Patriots can't get these runs into the second level right now. So, as crazy as it sounds to say, the way to open up the Patriots game right now is to develop a downhill between the tackles rushing attack, because you can break play action off of that. You're going to force teams to stack the box more against something like that. You're going to get more one-on-ones on the outside. They've been terrible running the ball, Brian. They're averaging 2.3 yards per carry between the tackles. That number goes up to, I think it's 7.8, 7 point something outside the tackle box when they're running some of these tosses, sweeps, things like that. The answer isn't to just run sweeps because teams are going to sit on that all day. But they need to get some sort of push in the middle. It's going to be incredibly difficult to do against this defensive line. But they have to develop some sort of running game here, some sort of traditional running game. And I'll tell you where that starts. Go under center.
Yeah.
Because I don't know about you. This is just kind of a football philosophy thing with me. I understand you need to do it occasionally so you don't become predictable. And I understand there are concepts like RPOs and read options. But just the traditional shotgun handoff, shotgun gun sweep, shotgun draw, that kind of thing, I hate those plays, Brian. I really hate them because
especially when you have two 220 plus pound running backs.
Yes, for this
just
team
want to get
especially,
downhill.
give the ball to the back with a head start.
Yes.
Right? And again, you can't not run out of the shotgun, but get under center, get Ezekiel Elliott, Ramondre Stevenson going, and then if you can get a hole for him up front, you get him into the second level. The thing about the way the Patriots are playing right now, they are trying to score by putting together these 13, 14, 15 play drives. It's not easy to do. Some people will tell you can't do it. I think you can. I think you can be an effective offense that way. But a big part of that is, do you have running backs that can turn a 2, 3, 4 yard carry into a 5, 6, 7 yard carry at the second level, whether that be running through a linebacker, whether it be running around a linebacker? I think the Patriots backs can do that. But you got to get them to the second level for that to happen. David Andrews talked about it today. You can't have running backs getting hit in the backfield. At that point, the play's dead on arrival, and that's not on the running back.
Yeah. They're like, we're all for Bill O'Brien's like spread it out RPOs. We love that, but like these shotgun runs, they're built for players like Pierre Strong, right? Like these fast guys that can just move, and Pierre Strong's a whole nother rabbit hole, but they got to get under center more. We heard Bill O'Brien on Tuesday, I believe it was. He's like, there's an imbalance of Mac Jones in the shotgun and under center, and we need to kind of fix that. Mac, out of his 96 pass attempts, which lead the league, 92 of them have been in the shotgun. So get him under center, let these big backs get downhill and, pick up a head of steam, run the ball, and then try to hit some play action off that because you need more explosive plays, right? You mentioned all these drives. They're long, a lot of plays, just little gains. But, one way to improve that is to hit some explosive plays. And if you don't have the playmakers on the outside or if you have Demario Douglas and you're going to bench them, right, then you got to scheme things open, and play action's a big thing to do that. And then another thing if you want to run the ball, you can't fall down 2 scores within 5 minutes, 5-10 minutes, right? Like that's just tie this all back together.
But also, sorry to cut you off. You can. 17-3 in the second quarter. That game's not over. You should still be operating your whole playbook. So falling behind early doesn't help, but I think because they know they can't score that much.
Yeah.
Because they know they have to go into desperation time earlier. If they could hit some of these explosive plays, maybe they wouldn't feel that way.
Yep. But yeah, I think that's the big thing. And hearing Bill O'Brien say, like, we know there's an imbalance and we want to kind of fix that, I'd expect to see Mac under center a lot more. Hopefully that, on Winu and Strange, having a week under their belts, maybe a little healthier. Hopefully that like all of this just adds up and it leads to more improvement. But again, that Jets defensive front is one of the best in the league, if not the best. So it's going to be a challenge there.
Yeah.
Yep. But Where else was I going offensively? What I mean, it's another one of these. We obviously know the Jets pretty well, right? But it's another one
Right.
of these, zone defenses. They're going to sit in a lot of zone, let you kind of take what's there. And I thought, just looking at like Dallas last week, that's what they kind of did. They put 30 points on them. It was a lot of field goals. Did they have a defensive score or a score off a turnover? I'm not exactly sure, but it was a lot of Dak. Just, I mean, his average depth of target was like 4 or 5 yards,
It
right?
was
It
like
was a
five
lot of
yards. Yeah.
it was a lot of just this short stuff, taking what's there, and it's what we've kind of seen from the Patriots in the
What this
past game,
offense
the
specializes in.
last few weeks. So I'd expect just some more of that, but then you hope you could run the ball with that because the Cowboys were able to hit a few explosive runs in there off, building off screens, RPOs, lightening the box, things like that to help the run game going.
Yeah, I know we've talked a lot about this offense needs to be more aggressive. They need to push the ball more downfield. They need to try for bigger plays. Overall, that's true. This week, you can nickel and dime it. This
Yep.
week is just about making less mistakes. That's all this is. It is about going in there, controlling the time of possession, capitalizing on turnovers, getting out. Like that, I think is how the Patriots want to win every game. I don't think you can win every game that way. You can and should win this game that way. So we can kind of table all the, hey, they need to throw the ball down the field. Oh, this and that. We can kind of table all that this week. This week's just about going in and taking care of business.
Especially like with the Jets defensive front, right? Like that's the
Right.
big thing. Like they're first in the NFL in pressure rate, 52% without sending a blitz. So that four-man front is applying pressure 52% of the time. Mac has got the time to throw. He's third quickest in the league. So you'd expect another one of these, like get the ball out quick and just take what's there. So you want to see Demario Douglas, right? Get the yards after catch. I know you were talking down at Gillette of Devontae Parker, maybe on DJ Reed, a smaller
Yeah.
cornerback. So there might be spots where you can pick advantages and attack, but it might be another one of those slow, methodical, move the ball down the field, especially if it's really windy and the conditions are bad.
So a couple points there. We'll do Demario Douglas second. Devontae Parker. I know people are down on him right now, but the Jets play that old Seattle style of defense. So their corners don't travel. Sauce Gardner's going to be on the left. DJ Reed's going to be on the right. That's not going to change unless you go to some weird like stack formation. That's not going to change. So you can have Devontae Parker on DJ Reed, who Devontae Parker is 6'3", DJ Reed is 5'9". You can have that matchup whenever you want it. The Jets will give it to you. And this is what we saw them do all training camp. Remember, you kept talking about Devontae Parker's having this great day, and everybody's like, well, yeah, it's against like Jonathan Jones and Marcus Jones, and they're short. Well, that's kind of applicable here. I'm not saying throw the ball to Devontae Parker 20 times. Don't do that. But that matchup, third downs, red zone, if you throw the ball 7.5 feet in the air, Devontae Parker is going to be able to get to it. DJ Reed isn't, period. And DJ Reed's a good player, but he doesn't have a 60-inch vertical. That's something they absolutely need to exploit. And I wanted them to do it last year. And on the first play of the game, they threw a quick slant to Devontae Parker, and he caught the ball. And he broke DJ, because it doesn't have to be separation either. It can be 5'9" corner trying to tackle 6'3" receiver. Just get the ball Devontae Parker, let him beat him after the catch. First play of the game last year against the Jets, quick slant to Devontae Parker, makes the catch, breaks the tackle. Once you know it, he hurt himself. I forget if it was his foot or his ankle or knee or it was some
Ankle,
sort of
I think, something
lower
like
body
that,
injury. Yeah. And then by the time the second game came around, because they played twice in 4 weeks last year, it was Jets, Colts, by Jets. He still wasn't 100%, and he was limited in that second game. He played a little bit, but not a ton. So I don't know if that was going to be a big part of their game plan last year or if it was just the first play, and I'm picking at straws, but give me that matchup. Again, not 20 targets, but 6'3" on 5'9". You can't teach height.
Should be 80-20, like Parker always likes to say.
On Demario Douglas, he needs to play. If he doesn't play, I am, and like 1 or 2 snaps doesn't count. I mean, 35, 40% usage rate minimum.
Not just catching punts.
Right. I'm going to be very concerned because they've done this. I thought, Ramondre Stevenson brought up a great point this week because he was asked about it. His rookie year, he fumbled and he didn't play again for weeks. And the only reason he did get back in the lineup was because guys got hurt. They had no other choice. Hunter Henry told a similar story. He fumbled the game away his rookie year, and that sucks. I'm not going to sit here and tell you fumbles are good. That sucks. But the Chargers stuck with him. He's fumbled once since, and it was that stupid Fakakta fumble in the Vikings game last year. That wasn't really a fumble. And the Chargers had every reason and asset to bench him. It was Antonio Gates.
Yeah.
They very easily could have gone away from him, and they didn't. And the reason I bring those up is we have seen in the past Bill Belichick bury rookies, especially on offense, who make mistakes. Or a mistake. I shouldn't even say mistakes. A mistake. It's one thing to bury a guy if he's continually messing up. But this is one mistake. What if Damian Harris doesn't get hurt in 2021 and Ramondre never sees the field again? Are we sitting here listing him as one of their busts? If the Chargers decide Hunter Henry fumbled and he can't see the field again, he's not good enough, well, they would have been so, Hunter Henry, they would have been wrong. Look at the player he's turned into because he learned a lesson from that. Ramondre Stevenson learned a lesson from his. You have to give Demario Douglas a chance because so many of these guys, some of it is because of mistakes in games, some of it is for other reasons. So many of these rookies over the last few years just never play, and we assume they're busts and we write them off. And from the Patriots standpoint, they're busts. You drafted a guy, he didn't become a contributor, he's a bust. But is it because he's a bad player? Or is it because they never gave him a chance? Rookies are going to make mistakes. It's going to happen. When you manage the personnel the way the Patriots have managed it last year, the last few years, you don't have the luxury of not having to deal with that. They need rookies and recent draft picks to make an impact. With that is going to come growing pains. They're just going to have to live with it. If Demario Douglas isn't on the field, it signals to me that they're done with him. And if they're done with him, that to me is a mistake because this is a guy that gives them something they need. And it looks like he can do it. And I'm not going to say like at all pro level or a Pro Bowl level, but it looks like he can do it at an NFL level. And even if he can't, even if it turns out he can't, maybe they put him back out there and he fumbles again. I'd at least like to give him the benefit of the doubt. I'd at least like to know for sure whether or not he can be that guy. And if he fumbles next week, feel free to come at me. Oh, Barth wanted him out there and he fumbled. Barth wanted him out there and he fumbled. Yeah, because I wanted to know. I didn't want another guy that just rides the bench for 4 years and disappears into obscurity. I was talking to somebody about this today, and I know this is going to rile people up. Juwan Williams was a bust. He was drafted in the second round, and he barely played for them, and he didn't get a second contract. Are we sure Juwan Williams is a bad player? I know he's not a good player, but he played a little bit his rookie year. He wasn't terrible. And then we just kind of never saw him again. And it's part of the problem here, and I know I'm going on a bigger rant now than the game, but I think this is important. Guys like Pierre Strong and Kevin Harris last year. There's been a number of guys in the secondary. They draft these guys. They don't play them for 2 years. And then they get to their third year, and the guys are making rookie mistakes, and we look at it and we say, well, that guy sucks. He's in his third year. He's making rookie mistakes. Well, it's because it's essentially his rookie year because he never got a chance to play. You have to give these guys a chance to make mistakes and learn. You just do. And to bring it back, like I don't even know that he's that crucial to this specific game plan. But as a vote of confidence, you got to get Demario Douglas on the field on Sunday.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I mean, everything we've heard from the teammates, like they're all boosting him up. They seem to know he's important. They're confident in him. I don't know if you heard yesterday, Devin McCourty was on radio and they asked him about it. And he basically said, like, when Ramondre fumbled, they could turn to Damian Harris and James White, right? Like they still had these guys they could turn to, but his exact quote was, now he said, McCourty said he has to play and not just show up a little bit. He needs to be out there because you need guys that put some fear in the defense. And he's basically the only one right now that does that, right? So
Right.
they need him out there, for that. They can't afford to just bench him. We don't know. Maybe he's putting the ball on the ground in practice a lot, or it's something else, and then maybe you could see that. But they need that
Based
skill
on
set out
so
there.
I would just say based on the way guys have talked about it this
It
week, I don't think
doesn't,
that's the
yeah,
case. I don't they all kind of said we know Pop's better than this, we believe in him, blah blah blah. Like I feel like if he was fumbling the ball a lot in practice, you wouldn't have the full throated defense you've gotten in the last few days.
yeah. And Bill O'Brien's comments gave me some hope too, where he's like, he's had a awesome OTAs, training camp, off-season experience. He's done a lot of really good things. We like when he's in the game, so that gives me some confidence that we'll be seeing Pop, but
Yeah.
you can't write it off completely. But they need him out there, and they need that skill set. And then,
And by the way, this is a good point too. Just want to bring this up real quick. They played Demario Douglas in the preseason more. He'd be more developed. Maybe that play happens to him in the preseason.
yeah,
And and then this time around against the Dolphins, hold on to the ball. Or I'll say too, their whole thing about September's an extension of the preseason. I find it pretty weird that they benched Douglas. But anyway.
yep, they let Zeke play through it because he's a veteran, but that's the Demario Douglas that the rabbit hole we always have to get down. But other offensive matchups for the Patriots that I think are going to be big. You mentioned, Cole Strange against Quinnen Williams. He got benched last year against Quinnen Williams, right? That's when his slide kind of started. And I mean, Quinnen Williams is a monster, so he's going to get his share. He's going to win some reps, but you'd like to see Strange maybe hold his ground a little bit better. It's unfortunate that he missed the last month in the first game, so he's working back into things. But that's going to be a big one. And then Calvin Anderson on the right side against whoever the Jets put over there, because they just have bodies on bodies. Bryce Huff probably going to see Anderson the most. He's one of those like speed rushers, Uche types. He has last year he had a 26% win rate and 22.5% pressure rate, which I believe were top in the NFL in both. So he's a really good player, and they're kind of like Philly week one, where you just go down the depth chart and they're all really good. Like they don't even play their first round edge rusher, first round pick from this year, because that was, say what you want about that.
That was a bad pick.
Probably.
That was a bad pick. Let's just call that. Just call a spade a spade. They should have picked him. He was never going to play. We don't need to rehash that. It's not going to be perfect up front, but again, you just got to find a way to get a push. You talk about Cole Strange against Quinnen Williams. I have a feeling that David Andrews is going to need a help there. And we've talked about this before, right? You can help in one spot. So I think Trent Brown, he's back in practice. He got his new deal. That's encouraging. So let's just say if he's not at left tackle, they're in huge trouble. But let's say you got Trent Brown at left tackle, Cole Strange, David Andrews, Mike Onwenu, somebody at right tackle. Calvin Anderson, maybe Vidarian Lowe showed enough last week that he bumps Anderson from that spot. That's where you need to be helping at right tackle. That's where you're probably going to need help at right tackle, but you also need help at left guard. So can Calvin Anderson or Vidarian Lowe or whoever give you something at right tackle? Or is Cole Strange going to be able to hold up one-on-one against Quinnen Williams? And I don't feel great about either, but they're going to have to find something somewhere. Or you got to have Pharaoh Brown on the field the whole game and just go with 6 blockers. And I wouldn't rule that out either. In a game that's going to be a rock fight, just having that extra tight end on the field a lot, that should be a possibility as well.
Yeah. I'd like to see him more in some of those 12 personnel looks, right? Because he's been a really good run blocker. And that, like, Mike Onwenu is going to be huge if they can get him to go wire to wire, because then you can let, you trust him one-on-one, and you can let Andrews maybe help Strange a little bit more from time to time. So, yeah, those are two definite guys to look for there. But any other last things from Patriots offense that you're looking for here?
I think that's pretty much it with the offense.
Yeah. All right, so let's jump over to the defense. But before we do that, we can hear from our wonderful friends at Fanduel quickly.
I'm going to read this one because I don't know if we have a new one this week. So everybody knows, this show is brought to you by FanDuel. Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. If you place a $5 bet, that's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/Boston and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Oh, and then we got to put the, where's that thing? Do you have the thing we got to put up? Yeah, I think this is it. FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL. I think we got to leave that up for a little bit there.
So while that's up, big spread tonight. 49ers, the New York Giants in town, 10.5. Niners. Who you like there?
I still like the Niners. I don't know. I feel like the Giants are better than they've been, but the Niners just seem to be rolling.
Yeah, 10.5 is a lot of points for
it
a
is a lot of
Thursday game,
points.
though.
Yeah,
but
maybe the Giants keep it. Where is it again?
In San Fran.
Yeah, so, I did that
cross country flight too.
Yeah,
on a short week. That's a good point. But
there's some. I forget what the number is, but like road teams covering on Thursday Night Football is like an insanely low number.
Yeah. But if you like Christian McCaffrey, 50+ rushing yards, and Deebo Samuel, 50+ receiving yards with Brandon Ayuk out, that is boosted to +200 over on FanDuel tonight.
Oh, I just noticed there's one that says no FanDuel. All right. Oh, nope. I don't think that one's right either. All right. I'm messing this whole thing up. I noticed it said bet a Super Bowl winner. I remembered that promo from before the season. I don't think that was it.
All right. But head over to FanDuel there and check it out. Mike, our good friend Mike's in the chat. We will get to that. Don't you worry. But let's hop over to the defense, and it's Zach Wilson, 0-4 against the Patriots, 2 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Like a 50 passer rating, and his career starts there. Should be a win, right? It should be an easy win if you can. You have the game plan for him, right? He's the worst passer under pressure. Get after him, make him force bad decisions, and stick Christian Gonzalez on the left side, because the left side of your defense, because that Zach Wilson, what's the heat map or the passer chart, whatever one of those.
I call it a heat map. Yeah,
heat map was going around from his start against Dallas last week, and like 90% of his throws went to the right side. So get after Zach Wilson and put Christian Gonzalez over there, and you might be set defensively.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. The Jets don't always adjust to what the opponent's doing. Simply, I don't think they think Zach Wilson can handle it. They'll kind of keep banging their head against the wall. So take away that right side, load the box, stop the run, and let Zach Wilson throw you a couple. I honestly think it's kind of that simple.
Stop the run. That'll be a big one, because they kind of struggled against Miami, but again, like, you're worrying about Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle so much, they can probably put more resources into stopping Dalvin Cook and Breece Hall this week. But yeah, they've had quite a few ways to get after Wilson in the past, right? Different pressure looks. Yeah. They did the QB spy last year was a big thing with Mac Wilson, I believe. So maybe they do Wilson this year, or Marte Mapu gets a role in that QB spy, because you want him to scramble, but you still want him to throw the ball, because then he makes mistakes or throws incompletion. So maybe we see some of that QB spy back, kind of, force him one way and then still make him throw, so he can't make plays with his legs. But yeah, you kind of have the script there. It starts with stopping the run and then letting Zach Wilson do Zach Wilson things.
Right. And something I thought they did really well last year was, instead of trying to sack him, because you don't want to sack him, because then he can't throw you the pick. I don't want to say that you don't want to sack him, but what they did was kind of just corral him to the boundary. And basically it was either throw it away, step out of bounds, or force something. And they were able to do it, and they should be able to do it again this year, because the Jets' offensive line is probably in worse shape than the Patriots. And just force it. He couldn't figure out how to throw the ball away last year. So that's what you do. When they drop back to throw, you probably do it to the left side, because he wants to throw to the right. Kind of like they did to Jalen Hurts. It's a little different, but remember we talked about with Jalen Hurts, you want to flush him out of the pocket one way, so you have the spy running with him.
Yep.
It's a little bit like that, but a much worse quarterback. Flush him to the left and then just kind of close on him and just pin him to the sideline and then let him do what he does.
That's like exactly the McCourty interception last year, right? Like these.
That was I think that was all three of McCourty's interceptions last year.
Yeah. I was just unfortunately we don't have Zach Wilson interception props on FanDuel yet.
Oh, well, they can't. Like, they got to stay in business, man.
Yeah, that would just be too easy. But yeah, the only team in the NFL with a worse pass block win rate than the Patriots is the Jets. So they should be able to get after Wilson. I think he's getting pressured on. I wrote it down somewhere. 53% of his dropbacks this year, he's getting pressured. So that Jets O line is in rough shape too. So that's just do what you did last year, and then maybe they're at the point where that second game against the Patriots last year, where it was like, once you feel pressure, just throw it away. And then he was like 7 for 22 with like 80 yards, and then you hold him to 3 points, and then hopefully you can score more than 3 points, and you don't need a Marcus Jones walk off. But that seems to be kind of the book on Zach Wilson.
Yeah, it's pretty simple, pretty cut and dry. He's just not very good.
Yeah. I don't know any other the thing there defensively that you have your eye on or Patriots wise.
When he throws it to you, catch it. Catch it. That's simple. Like I've said this against the Bills a lot recently. It's that same thing. When the ball comes your way, make sure you catch it. It's not as similar with other teams because you might not get as many, but like you got to pick the ball off.
Yeah. Maybe Lawrence Guy can get his. He's been jealous of Christian Gonzalez.
He's really upset that Christian Gonzalez is getting all the stats.
I know. Maybe with the offensive line and Zach Wilson, maybe Lawrence Guy can catch up in the stat sheet there, sack and interception. That'd be something. Yeah. But that's about it defensively, right? We know the Zach Wilson story by now, but will be a big special teams game. And are you expecting maybe another one of these wrinkles with the field goal block? I know they probably had a head up there with Jake Bailey, but I don't know. Are you expecting something there, or even that look to kind of just throw the kicker off who Greg Zuerlein was on? It's Greg Zuerlein, right?
Yeah.
Jets kicker. He was been on the injury report this week with a groin injury, so that's also something to kind of monitor there if the Jets will even be kicking in this game.
So I think they'll run that look again, and they don't need a block kicks for it to be effective. We talked about this on Monday, Brian. Jason Saunders missed the second kick because he's looking at Brandon Schooler come flying off the edge. Patriots aren't going to have as good of a tell on the Jets, but they still might be able to find a tell. But here's what I wonder, really. Between this Patriots field goal block play, between Greg Zuerlein being hurt, and between the weather, I wonder if this is one of those games where the Jets just don't kick field goals. Where
just go for it.
They're going for it on fourth down. They're going for 2-point conversions. They know they need as many points as they can get anyway. They know this offense needs every help it can get. I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets don't, unless end of the half, 1 second left or at the 45-yard line, right? But I would not be surprised if the Jets do some weird stuff in terms of bypassing field goals and extra points in this game. Wouldn't surprise me one bit.
Yeah, no, I could definitely see that. I mean, I'm guessing, I haven't looked at their practice squad, but I'm guessing they don't have a kicker on their practice squad. I could try and double check that quick, but
if they do, the Patriots should have signed him today.
Yeah, true. Let me look.
I'll take a look. You can finish your point.
That's a good point. That if they try to get aggressive like that, but with the whole Schooler thing,
by the way, they do have Austin Siebert.
Okay, so they do have a kicker.
Who's like, isn't he bad? No, he's not.
I don't know, but AJ kind of got into my point here. Won't they just work on hard count for field goals to draw offsides? It will be interesting because I think we all assume that special teams coaches are going to try to put that Schooler play into their playbook there. But it will be interesting to see how the other side tries to negate it or respond. And hard counts could be one. I'm guessing. I think when it was like it was a long fourth down, right? So you don't risk
Yeah.
5 yards and the automatic first down. But if they put him out there, it'll be interesting to see if maybe the Jets already have been working on that. If they have some type of way or play or formation there on their field goal block where they kind of try to negate that and say to their kicker, like, don't even worry about that guy rushing off the edge. Like, we got it covered.
To me, so on the offsides thing, one, you're right. You're right. If it's less than 5 yards, it's not going to matter. Two, if you watch Schooler do it, and this is where like it's not an easy play, he doesn't turn up field. Like if the ball's not snapped in time, he probably just runs in and stands at the end of the line.
Yeah.
He turns in as soon as the ball is snapped. So part of that is having it timed up. But if they hard count, you should be able to like get back as long as you don't hit anybody, and he's not going to hit anybody because he doesn't want to be touching anybody. I don't think some guys are going to jump off sides, but it's not guaranteed. I almost wonder if you're going to see the team line somebody up outside the formation, almost like a gunner.
Like the field goal block?
Right.
Okay.
No, the field goal unit.
Okay, yep.
Line somebody outside with a gunner, and if that guy starts moving, you motion that gunner in with him. Because that's a mechanic that's used on punts. You don't really see it used on field goals because, again, nobody's ever lining up outside the box. But if I'm the Jets and I see Brandon School lined up out at the number, I think it's called the vice, whatever, the end
vice
guy on the field goal, right? I'm taking him and saying, you're just going to line up wherever Brandon Schooler lines up. And if he starts moving in, you motion in with him. That would be how I counter it. Now, the thing about that and the counter there is you thin out in the middle. And I think, so to play this forward a couple steps, you Patriots have a guy out wide. Jets are going to counter by moving somebody out there. If I'm the Patriots, I then bring somebody on the other side. And I start doing it on both sides. And now, all right, now they have two guys out wide. Now it's thinner in the middle. Now you try to come up the middle to block the kick. That is, if I'm like playing chess with myself back and forth, I wonder if that's how it plays out.
This is going to be awesome just to see how teams.
Oh, this is going to be such a fun storyline this year. I can't wait for this.
This might be our most interesting thing to follow all year now. But
yeah. No, this show will be on every single development of this.
On all the special. I wonder how many other teams will think. I mean, like if you're a special teams coach, like you have to look at that and say, like, we're installing this now. If we can get a tell on the other team, but yeah, it'll be fascinating to see how many other teams break this out. How teams counter. I mean, I think Adrian Phillips said the other day, like, kind of cool to be a part of something that might change the game here, right?
Yeah.
And that absolutely could happen. So that'll be fun to see. And then in a game that should be kind of a rock fight here, punting, kicking, Behringer, Ryland should have big roles. We mentioned that tropical cyclone or whatever. I just pulled up the East Rutherford forecast for Sunday. They're saying 10 to 20 mile an hour winds and rainfall around like a quarter of an inch. So looks like it's going to be heavy rain for out with some good sized wind gusts there. So that'll be, I mean, it's two Big Ten guys who have kicked in the weather before, but I mean, who knows what a tropical cyclone will bring and how much. I doubt they have much experience kicking in one of those. So that'll be worth monitoring and keeping tabs on too as well.
Yeah, the weather's gonna play a role in this game for sure.
Yep. A lot of balls on the run game, balls on the ground will be a slugfest. We could be looking at 3-3 again late in the fourth quarter. But any other little notes or details you might have had, or you can predictions if you want to get into that. Besides, just it's gonna be a rock fight.
No, I just low scoring game. I think the Patriots win. I think Zach Wilson makes too many mistakes, but I think it's gonna be a low scoring game.
Yep. I wanted to bank on the. I mean, who traded the Patriots the pick for Chad Ryland? Do you remember?
Was it the Jets?
It was the Jets. So
interesting.
I was going Chad Ryland game winner this week. Big game for him, but now we have this weather, so I don't know how I should feel about that. But I'll stick to it. I'll say Patriots win by 3. Chad Ryland game winner, which and we'll kind of see off that.
All right. I do want to get in a quick college football minute here too.
Absolutely.
If you're good on the Pats, because this week's slate rules. So I want to run through some games with you, Brian, here. Tell me what you think.
Let's do it.
Ole Miss, Alabama.
I kind of just like the Bama is washed storyline and kind of want to roll.
Be washed.
Kind of want to roll with Ole Miss.
I hate Lane Kiffin. I really don't like Lane Kiffin, but it is going to be chaos in Tuscaloosa if Ole Miss wins that game.
That's in Alabama?
Yeah.
All right, so that would make it even better than if Ole Miss wins that game. So I'll go Ole Miss.
We got Florida State, Clemson. Clemson's like beat up on two bad teams since they lost to Duke. So everybody's like, oh, it's a hiccup. Clemson's back. They're going to get stomped by Florida State this week. Can't wait for that.
Florida State.
Florida State. Colorado, Oregon. It sucks Travis Hunter's not playing. I worry about what Colorado's going to look like without Travis Hunter. And I know they beat Colorado State last week without him, but barely. And that Colorado State team's not good. Just like straight up, they're not very good. So
they had some dogs offensively though.
They had some dogs. Love the mentality they played with, but I mean Oregon's eons more talented. So that one could get rough.
Do you take Colorado with the points though? They're plus 21 on Fanduel.
I was having this conversation with friends this week. I'm not touching that one because I think that's right around what it's going to be.
Yeah,
it's going to be somewhere from like a 17 to 24 point game. So they got that number right. I'll say that. UCLA, Utah, interesting game in the Pac-12.
Probably go Utah.
Arkansas, LSU. I can't wait to see KJ Jefferson against that good defense. I sneaky like KJ Jefferson. I do.
Your guy, KJ Jefferson.
Yeah.
Where's that game?
That is in Death Valley at night.
Yeah, that'll probably go LSU.
I'll tell you this: if Arkansas is even close, plus they put up points. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
Arkansas is plus 17.5 on FanDuel.
Yeah, if Arkansas can keep that close, the KJ Jefferson agenda kicks into gear. We got the Big Ten games: Notre Dame, Ohio State. I think Notre Dame gets. This is about the time of the year Notre Dame usually gets exposed.
They've had their 3 wins, 3 easy wins. They get their top 10 hype up, and then they just get run over by Ohio State.
Iowa, Penn State could potentially be hilarious.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you have a thought on that one?
Not really. Just besides always watching the Iowa point tracker. Right?
So he's ahead of schedule now.
Yeah.
It's now 24 points per game because he screwed me on my bet last week and put up 41 on Western Michigan.
Didn't he go for it on 4th down or something when the game was over to get the extra points or something?
Oh yeah, it was nonsense. It was complete nonsense. We've got what I am calling the Pac-12 championship between Washington State and Oregon State this week, both ranked. So shout out to them for that. Wow. I think Oregon State wins. I like DJ Uyunglele. I think he's much more comfortable in that system, but that game should get a lot of eyeballs considering both teams stayed.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll go Oregon State there.
There's one more game I want to pull up here. I got to find it. My game of the week. I am going to be locked in on this game, Brian. And that game it is Oklahoma State versus Iowa State. And I will tell you why.
Find the low over under.
The lowest total for that game, the total for that game is the lowest of the week. I believe it's the lowest of the year so far. Is 35.5. And that's actually up. I think it was 34 at the start of the week.
FanDuel has it up to 36.5 now.
Too high. No, keep it low. Keep it low. I want it low. But anyway, that game's going to be ridiculous. I can't wait for both those teams are terrible this year.
36.5 for a college is wild.
That's like 20-16 is as that game can max out at 20-16 or I guess 21-17 would be over.
Be over. Yeah.
Yeah. 2016 is the most realistic football score you can do with that. So
right where the Pats Jets are this week, 36.5.
But 36 points, and that's low. But 36 points in an NFL game and 36 points in a college game are two different things.
Big difference. Yep.
But that's all my college football thoughts for the week.
Yep. Should be an awesome slate this week. Will be a good warm up for the Patriots on Sunday, where they are in New Jersey for a week 3 must-win game to avoid going 0-3, and good thing it's against Zach Wilson and the Jets. But I believe that'll do it for our preview today. We will be back on Monday to break down the game, of course. But until then, you can follow Alex on Twitter at RealAlexBarth and go read all his Week 3 coverage over at 985thesportshub.com. You can follow me on Twitter at I am Brian Hines and go read all my Patriots coverage for this week over at patspulpit.com. Thank you all, as always, for tuning in, and we will see you guys next week.